Excited about dining out with my estranged husband for the first time in a while. I was drenched not with cold water but with wine. What? How's the taste of the wine? Standing before me, stunned, was a strange woman, smirking mischievously with a wine bottle in her hand. My name is Mandy. I'm a 30-year-old working housewife. Married for 3 years, I've been thinking about having children. But with both of us busy with fulfilling jobs, it's hard to feel ready. My husband, Mike too, is often busy with work and late nights. With me having weekdays off and my husband the weekends. We've continued to pass like ships in the night. Our time together at home is scarce, naturally leading to less conversation. Though we could take paid leave on the same day, neither of us wants to take time off work. Under such circumstances, it's impossible for our relationship to thrive. We've become more like roommates than a married couple. Yet, we haven't divorced, probably because there's still some affection left. While I do feel a bit lonely, I still can't bring myself to quit my job or take a break. Maybe I'm just not suited for marriage, I've thought. However, it's not like we never spend time together. My schedule is flexible, and occasionally our days off align. When they do, we might find ourselves watching a movie together in the living room. This one was a hit, I'd say happily, or my husband might critique. I wish that part had been more surprising, as we share our thoughts over drinks. These moments make me appreciate the joys of marriage, pushing the thought of divorce further away. Maybe the current distance between us is just right. There are countless forms of marriage, each unique. Our relationship is just another variant. Realizing this brings a surprising comfort. We don't blame each other for coming home late due to overtime. If one of us gets home early, we might prepare dinner for the other. If I'm the early one, I make sure everything is ready for my husband to enjoy a bath and dinner as soon as he's home. And if there's time after dinner, we might have a drink or watch TV together. On busy days, we might not see each other for a week, but we're still living together, enjoying a surprisingly comfortable relationship that I hope continues. However, I've noticed a change in my husband's behavior recently. He's become cold. He doesn't touch the dinner I prepare, saying, "I've already eaten." He declines my invitations to drink together, preferring to be alone. He locks himself in his room, even when I suggest watching a movie he wanted to see on TV. This is a dangerous sign. Maybe I was the only one satisfied with our relationship. My husband has been harboring dissatisfaction that's now coming to the surface. Yet, refusing to eat dinner because it looks unappetizing, and demanding I practice cooking more is harsh. Sigh, I can't relax even when I come home. Hearing him sigh like this hurts. He says, "I don't belong in this house." But isn't it up to him to find his place? I'm not treating him poorly, so such words are hurtful. Wondering if it's all over, I returned home exhausted from overtime one day. Previously, my husband would have prepared dinner if he was home first. But I couldn't expect that from him lately. I should have stopped by the store, but I was too drained. Maybe it's microwave food tonight, I muttered as I entered, finding no dinner prepared. My husband was lounging on the sofa, watching a comedy show. Didn't he used to dislike that comedian? I wondered if his tastes had changed as I went to take a bath. When I returned, I found microwave food prepared for me. Though it wasn't a proper dinner, I was surprised he had prepared something. When I say, "Thank you," he replies with a curt, "Yeah," as the sound of slurping pasta fills the air. Then, my husband speaks up. "Mandy, how about we go out for a meal sometime?" What? We're getting our summer bonus soon, right? Just once in a while. Yeah, I'd like that. All right. I'll make a reservation, so let me know your work schedule. Okay. The conversation was blunt and straightforward, but inside, I was thrilled. He had been cold lately, perhaps upset about something at work. Being invited out for a meal had lifted my spirits. On the day of our dinner, I was rushing to get ready after working late. Are you still not ready? You're so slow. Sorry, just wait a bit longer. We still have time before our reservation, right? We do, but why can't you get ready sooner? His sharp words sting. Sure, I was working until the last minute, even though I knew about our plans. But I made it back in time for our reservation. I've been ready for a while now. Of course, he was ready. He made the reservation to fit his day off. I didn't have time to argue. Rushing to change and do my makeup, I suddenly felt something was off. Mike, did you always have that tie? There was an unfamiliar tie around my husband's neck. Despite our busy lives, I thought I knew all the ties he owned, but I didn't recognize this one. Oh.
Yeah.
I just happened to see it and liked it. My husband has no interest in fashion. He'd wear socks with holes unless I pointed it out. It was strange for him to buy a tie, but I didn't have time to question it further. I just reminded myself that things like this happen and finally finished getting ready. Wow, we're going here? We arrived at the restaurant by taxi, and I couldn't hide my surprise. It was an upscale steakhouse, not the kind of place you'd enter casually. I splurged. My husband said with a smirk shining in my eyes. Was it shallow to be dazzled by such extravagance? I felt nervous sitting down in such a fancy place for the first time. But my excitement quickly faded. What, you don't know the manners for a place like this? My husband began, then went on. You know, I come to places like this often, but you really need a rich taste to appreciate it. You can't understand the true deliciousness of this meat. He pretended to know what he was talking about. Listen, this meat comes from a part of the cow that's very rare. He was annoyingly specific, making it hard to enjoy the meal. Phew. High-end meat definitely needs high-end wine, right? Delicious. He shouted boisterously, unfit for the upscale setting. Enough with this drunkard. I was getting increasingly irritated when he said, you know, you could try being a bit more ladylike. Huh? What are you suddenly on about? I don't think I can keep doing this with you. I need someone more attractive. That comment infuriated me. And you think you're in a position to talk? With your loud, inappropriate voice and lack of manners in a high-end place. Why don't you try becoming a more attractive man? I shot back. At that moment, my husband's face froze. I mentally stuck out my tongue at him, feeling triumphant. Oh, he is a very attractive man. It's a shame you can't see that. Here's a gift for you. Suddenly, I heard a voice, and before I knew it, what? My vision turned red. Not from anger, but something had been poured over my head, trickling down.
Ah.
What, Mandy? Both my husband and I were surprised. Rushing to stand up and look back, there stood a woman. She was dressed in a beautiful formal dress, holding a wine bottle in her right hand. How's the taste of the wine? What? Huh? I couldn't catch up with what was happening. Hey, what are you doing? Snapped back to reality by my husband's words, I looked at myself.
Oh no.
I was at a loss for words. My white dress was now stained red. Looking at the woman, she smirked and lifted the wine bottle. Yes, she had poured wine over my head. Who are you? Why would you do this? I had no recollection of this woman. Yet, why was I subjected to this treatment? My shout made the woman burst into laughter. Because you were too plain for this place and berating such an attractive man. I couldn't help but spill my wine, my apologies. What, you? I was so angry I couldn't speak properly. Well, I'll be leaving now. As I was shaking with anger, the woman tried to leave. I couldn't let her go just like that. I grabbed her hand and took out my phone. This is assault, I'm calling the police, don't you leave. Huh? Not knowing who else to turn to, I thought to call the police. Just as I was about to dial, a voice stopped me. Wait, Mandy, don't be hasty. Let's hear her out first. Why are you defending her? My husband rushed between me and the woman, standing in front of her protectively. Well, I thought we could talk tonight. She's an acquaintance of mine, Lindsay. What? I was dumbfounded by my husband's sudden declaration. An acquaintance of yours? Yes. Actually, she was sitting next to us from the start. But I couldn't find the right moment to introduce her. I thought wine might help somehow. I got impatient and decided to step in. You stepped in with wine, not words. Despite my protest, Lindsay, the woman, showed no remorse. It's because you were speaking poorly of my beloved person, she said, dropping a bombshell. Beloved? What do you mean? Looking at my husband in panic, he appeared troubled. Let's calm down and talk. How can I talk covered in wine like this? Please, let's try to. Try what? Moreover, the wine had spread all over the restaurant floor, clashing with the expensive floor mat. Is this going to require compensation? As I was pondering, the restaurant staff hurried over. Excuse me, is everything all right? We don't allow disturbances in our establishment. Oh, the floor. As expected, the staff screamed upon seeing the floor stained red. I glared at Lindsay, who turned away without a hint of remorse. You, explain this. I confronted my husband, and he finally began to speak sheepishly. Well. I've been seeing her. Lindsay. Excuse me? I was stunned by his sudden confession. So, you're cheating? My husband nodded in response to my question. I was just taking a coffee break at the park during work when she approached me. Wow, a pickup, huh? And things just progressed from there. That escalated quickly. So, I thought maybe over a fancy steak dinner. We could discuss, perhaps, getting a divorce. How starved for meat do you think I am? I couldn't comprehend his logic of trying to appease me with steak. I'm sorry, but I just can't do this with you anymore. Lindsay lifts me up and says I'm wonderful. She's kind and attractive. His words deeply hurt me. So it was just me. I thought we were managing well with our distance as a couple. I thought we had a surprisingly comfortable relationship, but it was only me who felt that way. And she's someone who would pour wine on me? That's because she loves me. I was flabbergasted. Love is truly blind. How can someone who causes such trouble and shows no remorse be considered attractive? His words left me feeling cold inside, like a switch had been flipped. And my affection vanished in an instant. Meanwhile, the restaurant staff, caught off guard by the sudden turn of events, didn't know how to intervene. I felt sorry for causing a scene. We needed to compensate for the damage quickly. But the responsibility was on my husband and his woman. Just as I was about to tell my husband to take care of it, he spoke first. It's also your fault for neglecting me. I won't pay compensation because you're partly to blame. Excuse me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This man felt no remorse whatsoever. How could he say something so awful? I was speechless. Don't mess with me. Just then, we heard sirens. What? Both my husband and Lindsay were shocked. It was me, I called 911, said the restaurant staff, who had been anxiously watching the whole situation unfold. They must have thought the situation was dire. Indeed, it was. Especially since the luxury floor mat was now stained red with wine. You need to explain everything to the police and compensate the restaurant. Me. But, it was your girlfriend who did this. Eek. Okay. My husband sobered up quickly under my stern gaze. And reluctantly turned to face the approaching officers. But then. Oh, then I'll be going now. Lindsay suddenly attempted to leave the scene. No way, what do you think you're doing trying to leave? You're the last person who should be leaving here. What? No, Lindsay, don't go. The woman attempts to shake off my husband's desperate attempts to stop her. I have nothing to do with this. You're the most involved here, I think to myself, making sure she doesn't escape. I avoid grabbing her arm directly to prevent any troublesome accusations from her. Right after we start explaining the situation to the arriving police officers. My husband glances at Lindsay, and the moment the police see her, they look puzzled. Lindsay tries to look away, not wanting to be recognized. The police move around to get a better look at her face, and after a bit of this back and forth, one of them exclaims,
Ah.
They pull out some document and say, just as I thought. You're a wanted con artist for marriage fraud. I say. What, says my husband. Well, you know Lindsay tries to play dumb. Yes, no mistake. The makeup and hairstyle are different. But you're definitely the person in this wanted poster. That's not me. Lindsay tries to flee, but the police block her escape route. After a brief struggle, Lindsay is apprehended. My husband and I can only stand there, dumbfounded. What follows is a complete debacle. Indeed, Lindsay was a wanted marriage scam artist. And of course, my husband was one of her targets. As the police take her away, my husband is left in shock. So, that. He mutters. Right before Lindsay is put into the patrol car, I ask her. Why did you make such a scene with the wine? She responds. I just wanted you to divorce him quickly. What a simplistic scam artist. After the police car leaves and the commotion dies down, the restaurant returns to calm. I glance at my husband, who is sitting on the floor in dismay, then look at the worried staff. I'm truly sorry for all the trouble. He'll take care of everything from here. I have no more business here. I just want to go home and take a shower. I apologize deeply to the staff and then leave the restaurant. Naturally, my husband and I divorced after that. I was deceived. My only love is Mandy. He shouted, but who was he to talk about love? He had cheated, and even talked about divorce. How could we possibly reconcile? It seems that Lindsay had significantly drained my husband's savings. And between compensating the restaurant and paying me the property division, his bank account quickly hit rock bottom. Despite being a victim of fraud. Rumors that he was attempting